Hi, everybody. Tom Van Hoy with this Pitt State men and women's indoor track and field insider show. Russ Jewett is the veteran head coach of both squads, 26th year with the men's program, 27 the women. 29-time MIAA Coach of the Year in track and field and cross country. In addition to being an assistant athletic director for 25 years and promoted to senior associate athletic director in 2012. Pitt State men number 2 behind Central Missouri in the MIAA indoor track and field preseason poll this year. Gorillas finished second last year to Central Missouri, 15.5 points back of the Mules. Pitt State women preseason number 4 finished fifth last year. Lincoln won last year and picked unanimously to win again this year. Pitt State athletes already several indoor meets with some top performances, not only in the MIAA, but nationally as well. Pitt State scheduled this weekend in Warrensburg and Lincoln, Nebraska. Here's Russ Jewett.
Well, we're going to be okay with the weather this weekend. We missed a little bit of training, but I think we'll be fine for the competitions according to the forecast we've got.
So how have you done so far? I know you've gotten a couple of meets underway and had some pretty good performances so far on both sides.
Yeah, women's and men's field events particularly, we've done fairly well. Those are event areas where the weather outside doesn't affect you much, and you can do some things inside, and typically that's where our strength is in indoor track as well as outdoor track.
What is your approach to indoor track and field? I guess in terms of you want to be competitive, you want to win, but you also look for the outdoor as well. I guess how do you approach the indoor season? Well,
I've been around here a long time, and I was around here before we had indoor track conference championships.
Wow, that's a long time.
So, yeah, it is a long time. And so I guess the core of what we want to do is win that outdoor track championship, but certainly indoor track is important as well. It's an MIAA championship and a national championship on the line, and I guess you would say we probably train our athletes more to be ready physically at a peak for the outdoor season, but we certainly get ready for the championships during the indoor season without question. Very important to us.
Yeah, I wondered in terms of your cross-country folks, and we talked to you during cross-country season and slide into the indoor season. I know it's different in distances and so forth, and then right into outdoor as well. So do you have to approach that from a certain conditioning standpoint to build to where you want to get rather than maybe burn out some
Well, that's a great question, and it is a variable. Something to consider. With some athletes, it's hard for them to reach a physical and a mental peak in the fall, again in the winter, and again in the spring. In fact, for 18, 19-year-olds, it's, I think, almost impossible. You can come close. So we kind of try and identify those kids that we really want to go for cross-country and outdoor track, and then we minimize the indoor season, and I'm talking just about distance runners. Usually the middle-distance kids, the 800 milers, are fine to race, multiple times during indoor season and still be fine for outdoor, but sometimes it's the longer distance, the kids that are 5K, 10K outdoors that will run the 3,000 and 5,000 indoors. Those races are more taxing. There's a lot more turns, and they're twice as sharp a turn as the outdoor track. So sometimes I try to avoid injury to some extent by not over-racing those kids in the wintertime.
Yeah, it is a completely different situation running inside, isn't it?
It really is. Some people might think, well, it's easier and you'd run faster, and not the case, especially when you're running on the oval, because those turns are much tighter, and in a given race distance, if it's a 200-meter track versus the outdoor 400, twice as many of those tighter turns, so negatively affects performance. Obviously, you don't have to deal with the weather, but the overuse injury is a risk.
Well, I'm going to go back to Madison Square Garden a long time ago here, and you used to watch ABC, Wide World of Sports, and you see them with the bank turns and stuff. You don't have any of that, do you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. You do?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, we're going to the University of Nebraska with a partial team this weekend. They've got a banked 200-meter track.
Oh, cool.
Pretty fast track. Yeah, nice.
I didn't realize that. That's pretty neat to it. It kind of gave that aura to indoor track and field, didn't it?
Yeah, indoor track and field is different. There are some different events. I mean, still running, jumping, and throwing, but there's some different events, certainly different venues in indoor track. You get a mixed bag. You might have a flat 160-meter oval like we used to have. You might have a flat 200-meter oval like Missouri Southern has, and you might have a banked 200-meter oval like Nebraska has, a 300-meter flat like we're going to have, and then there's even odd-sized bank tracks. We used to compete at the National Indoor Championships in the NAI level in Old Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City.
Yeah.
They had a banked 3 laps for a quarter mile. So it was 12 laps for a mile, bank track. It was crazy.
How difficult is it when everybody's indoors and you got a lot of things going on, a lot of events at the same time? Is that tough sometimes for the athletes?
Well, certainly it's a challenge in terms of keeping your focus. Some venues are very crowded without a lot of team seating area. A shared venue with basketball is a great example, but and there's all other kinds of things that can distract a student athlete. But that's part of the challenge.
Tom Anaway with Russ Jewett. We're talking indoor track and field, head coach for both squads. Before we talk about some of the individuals, how about from a team standpoint, preseason, and number 2, we'll start with the men behind Central Missouri, and it was close last year, down 15.5 points. How are you there? Individuals that you return, and you return some pretty good ones.
Well, we do. Keenan Souls is going to shoulder a lot of the load for us, and we're looking fairly strong in the throws right now relative to the conference, and that'll be a strength of ours at the conference level, I think. Adam Volkert has an indoor season. He doesn't have an outdoor season, but thankfully he did redshirt 1 year indoor, and we have him this year, and he's going to be very important to our cause because some of the teams we compete against, for a title anyway, there's 3 of them that have some good distance and middle distance runners, so we're going to have to rely on him quite a bit. So I feel pretty good about it right now. Of course, with our sport, it doesn't matter what you do before the conference championship weekend. We don't build a record. You have to be ready for that weekend.
How competitive is the league?
Well, that's something else it's hard to determine for sure. We haven't seen everybody face-to-face yet, but I know that, Central will certainly be a force. I think Missouri Southern is, of course, they're ranked nationally ahead of us, and that's a little different than the conference level, but they've got a balanced team, and I think, they look like the favorite to me right now, but Nebraska Kearney has emerged as a strong contender, I think, on the men's side, and certainly Lincoln, who's always a national power, they have enough balance to be dangerous at the conference level as well. On the women's side, Lincoln, without question, is the strong favorite. And Central Missouri, Missouri Southern, those are teams that, sort of have it in their corner, I'd say, for the indoor season.
Well, I'd say a pretty good start for Keenan Souls this year, huh? 3-time MIAA Field Athlete of the Week, went 25-8 at Missouri Southern. That was a Pitt State record by 8 1/4 inches. That's a strong start for him.
It really is, and of course we know he can keep that going. He had a good winter of training, and that pays dividends in terms of injury prevention and also being ready this time of year. He's a very good competitor. He's a great teammate. As good a long jumper he is and a sprinter he is, he's an equally outstanding leader on our team, and I'm as proud of him as those things he gives to us as I am of the long jumping.
That's pretty interesting, too, from a leadership standpoint. We talked a little bit about this in cross country, and you think of indoor track and field, and track and field, maybe cross country as individual, but how important is that to have a guy like that on your team?
Well, if you had a ton of talented guys like him, it wouldn't be as important. We're fortunate enough to have a few talented athletes, but to win a conference title or certainly to compete in the top 10 at a national level, you got to bring those guys together in some kind of a unified force, and leadership from within is crucial, especially when you go through some hard times of injury or other kinds of setbacks. The coach can provide leadership, but really the leadership from among your peers is what keeps that team together and everybody rowing the boat in the same direction.
So how does Keenan Souls go from 23-6, 24-4 in the first couple of meets this year? We know last year, and you talked about that, how well he's done, but he's jumped a lot farther this year, hasn't he, than he has in the past? He has
during the indoor track. He jumped about that far a couple of years ago outdoor. Yeah. Well, it has to do, first of all, credit to Matt Brown, his coach, has a great rapport with him and is a great long jump, triple jump coach. But so he's done a great job with him. But Keenan has done the off-season work. He's got a good base of strength. And, of course, the long jump is, sometimes he had a great jump his first meet of the year. He scratched by just a little bit. He fouled by a little bit. So you have to get on the board. And you can have a great jump and be behind the board, but they don't measure it where your foot takes off from. They measure it from the front edge of the long jump board. So the run-up is important, certainly technique and conditioning, and also kind of getting in the right environment, I think. He loves to compete over at Missouri Southern. Those Missouri Southern jumpers are very competitive, and he kind of feeds off of that.
How important is it to have the type of sprinter speed that he does to be a successful long jumper?
Well, it is a factor. If you look at it at the very top level, at the Olympic level, you see very few long jumpers at the Olympic level, male or female, who don't have really outstanding speed. They may not make the Olympic final in 100 meters, but they have outstanding speed, and that is a contributing factor. He has a combination. He can jump, and he has good speed. In fact, his technique is not all that great. At the takeoff, it's pretty good, but his technique in the air and the landing leaves quite a bit to be desired. So if he can improve those, then he'll go even farther.
I mean, if people don't know, 25.8, pretty good. I mean, in terms of nationally as well, third best all levels, number one in Division II. Has he got a chance? I mean,
well, I think he does if he chooses to. When you take a step toward that level, you're talking about a much more involved commitment athletically. It'd be like almost a full-time job. I know he thinks about that, and we certainly think about that for him, and we'll support him in any way whatsoever post-collegiately that he wants us to or needs us to. But I know he's really excited about finishing out his senior season in great fashion.
Tom Van Hoy with Russ Jewett. We're talking Pitt State indoor track and field, and you mentioned Souls was a guy that likes it at Missouri Southern. I think your pole vaulter Jeff Piepenbrink likes it over there as well too, doesn't he?
He does, and a couple of reasons. They have even better pole vaulters over there than long jumpers, and so those athletes feed off of each other. I'm sure they would say the same. But they have a great facility for pole vaulting. They've got that raised runway, and most pole vaulters think it's a little faster than on-the-ground sprinting. So if you get more speed in the pole vault, you can grip a little higher on a pole, use a stiffer pole, and get a little higher. So I think that's an advantage, too.
I mean, 17-1 over at Missouri Southern, and little competitive there with his assistant coach, right, Kyle Rutledge?
Right, yeah. Coach Rutledge had the building record there at 17-1.5, and a couple weeks ago, Jeff broke that, and I think Kyle was extremely excited for him. I think that's a testament to his coaching ability and the way he inspires Jeff, daily in practice and certainly at that competition.
And he's a multi-sport guy too, right?
He's a multi-eventer, yeah. When we recruited him out of high school, he was a fair to middling pole vaulter, and he could hurdle. So we decided to redshirt him a year and turn him into a decathlete, and he's done very well with that. But somewhere along the way, you got to be a great pole vaulter, so that's a pleasant surprise.
Hey, we'll, in future shows, we'll go more in depth on some of the athletes you have, but a moment about maybe some of the women's side that have been pretty good for you and you expect to be pretty good for you this year.
Well, we're excited about Ramey Grayson. Ramey has come such a long way from her freshman year, and she's someone that will help us in multiple areas. She's obviously a good short sprinter. She's turned into a great long jumper. Never long jumped before she got here. So, kudos again to my assistant coach, Matt Brown, who from nothing helped her turn herself into, what hopefully we can get her to nationals as a long jumper. So. And then we've got some throwers that I think are waiting to break out. Cassie Caswell, I think, is dealing with a new coach this year, and Coach Mantooth. He's a great coach as well, and she's a transfer from a junior college, so she's doing fairly well right now. But she's on the verge, we think. So we're hoping that she'll be someone we can count on for points at the conference. We have a couple of distance runners we haven't even raced yet. We have Jessica Macy, who transferred to us from a Division III school last year, had to sit out and do a residency. She's the national runner-up in cross country. She'll race this weekend at Nebraska, so she's someone that will be very important to any kind of conference championship hopes we have as a team. And then Hannah DeVries is a sophomore distance runner. She was all region in cross country, and she got a little minor injury early in the indoor season. And since it's indoor and with the turns and everything, I was kind of cautious. But she's in pretty good shape, and she'll open up this weekend too. And we're hoping she'll be a strong force for us as well.
And we'll wrap it up today. I'd imagine you're pretty excited, right, about the indoor event center that's coming, hopefully spring of 2015, and then the national championships, which is awesome, coming to Pitt State in 2016, 2018.
Yeah, pretty excited. That's very mild to describe how we all feel, I think. Right now it looks like we have the beginnings of a huge swimming pool out back, a big hole dug, which I'm excited about that big hole, no doubt about it. Our kids are anticipating that a year from now we'll be in there at least looking around at what is going to be a fantastic facility. What will it mean for your program? Well, it will mean that on a day like today, Tom, when there's 4 inches of snow out there and 8 degrees, I think, when I got out of my car, we won't have to worry about not doing a workout or running 20 meters in the gym on a rollout runway. We'll be able to do a full-blown workout. It'll mean, I think, when we bring recruits, young men and women on this campus who are looking for a place, and they compare our facility to others, it can be something that sort of breaks a tie, if you will. And it's going to mean a lot to the community, which means a lot to us too. So we're excited about it.
That's Pitt State men and women's track and field head coach Russ Jewett. Still to come, meets in Warrensburg, Norman, Oklahoma, Lincoln, Nebraska again, and the MIAA championships this year at Missouri Southern and Joplin on February 28th through March 2nd, and the Division II National Championships this year in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They are coming to Pitt State in 2016 and 2018 with the completion of the new indoor event center scheduled for 2015. That's your Pitt State men and women's indoor track and field insider show for this week. I'm Tom Van Hoy.